Hey guys, I have a tag today that I'm going to be doing that my awesome friend Lucy Pertface from the UK tagged me in, and I am excited to do it. It's just something kind of different than anything I've done on my channel before, any of the types of tags I've done. So I think it's kind of fun and a way for you to get to know me and my family a little better. And so it is the mom tag. So basically, I'm going to be talking about my children and just life as a mom for me. And in case you don't know, I have three boys. My oldest is Gavin. He just turned 20 at the end of February. Then I have Riley, who will be 17 at the end of May, and Asher, who turned 13 in October. So they're 20, 16, and 13 right now. So they were all about 3 years apart. And we were planning two years apart, and ended up being 3 years, which I'm actually really glad about because it's kind of like a good spacing. And once your kids get to high school and you start doing graduation parties and stuff, you'll understand why 3 years is good. But anyway, so we're going to get into these questions. There are 15 questions, so being my long-winded self, I'm going to stop talking about other things and just get into these and try not to take forever answering them. The first one is favorite mom hack. I would have to say, and I want to say too, everything was mom, which I love from the UK, but I'm like, I know I would sound ridiculous saying that over and over because it's not how I talk, so it would sound very forced. So I'm going with mom since that's what we say here. So my favorite mom hack would probably be when you have newborns or infants and you're carrying a diaper bag, put a shirt for you in there because I can't tell you how many times, well, and if you're a mom, you know, I would get spit up on or peed on or whatever the case might be while you're out, and you're left with this mess that or you leak because you're breastfeeding and whatever. Put an extra shirt in the diaper bag for yourself. Like, trust me. Just trust me. You want to do this. Most embarrassing mom moment. I would have to say, oh, it was so horrible. I like cringe even just thinking about it. My boys were all very little because my youngest was less than a year old, and it was right before Father's Day, and I wanted to go get my husband something. And so I was like, okay, there was an outlet mall near my house where we lived at the time, and there was a Bass outlet there, and I'm like, I'm gonna go in and just get my husband like a nice shirt or whatever and get out, right? So I had my youngest in the stroller and then the other two boys. So they were like, actually Gavin at that point was probably almost 7, and Riley was about 3 and whatever, and Asher was just little. And we went in, and I don't know what got into my kids that day, but the two older ones decided they were going to keep like taking off and running around the store. And honest to God, like my kids never did stuff like that. And honestly, after that day, it never happened again. It was like a one-time thing. I don't know what was going on. I was all by myself with them, which I was a lot. Like, you know, when my husband was at work during the day, we would go out and do things and it was fine. But for whatever reason that day, they decided they were going to be little monsters. And so they're running around the store and I keep trying to wrangle them, but I've got, you know, the baby in the stroller and whatever. And these two women that were working, and they were older women, and they kept just like looking at me, and I could see them like, you know, talking to each other and like making these faces. And I was like mortified. I ended up just getting the kids. I'm like, forget it. I'm not even getting anything. We're getting out of here. And as I went out, the one woman said, you really need to get your children under control. I was so embarrassed and so upset. I got out to my car and I just started bawling. It was horrible. I was so embarrassed. And it just made me think about, you know, some people do have kids who are unruly and they don't make them behave. Like, that does happen, unfortunately. But sometimes your kids are going to do things that you don't want them to do or that you've taught them better than to do. And it's going to be embarrassing. And hopefully you don't have people who are rude like that to you. So it just made me think about too, like, to not be so judgmental towards other moms, because it might just be a bad day that these kids are deciding like they're just going to do whatever they want. Because honestly, I have to say, people constantly while my kids were growing up would tell me what well-behaved kids I had. And people, you know, when they would babysit, they're like, we never mind babysitting your kids because they're always so good. Like, they were very good kids and well-behaved. And my mother-in-law even at one point had said that I was too strict with them. And then several years later, she was like, I'm sorry I said that because I see now, like, what you did then in how they behave now. And like, I see why you did what you did. And I wasn't like a spanking crazy woman, but I didn't let them do certain things. And they knew, and they knew how to behave when we went places. But that particular day was bad. But anyway, just don't judge other people because you never know what's going on in that situation. And that was a really bad day for me, and I was very embarrassed. And I still, every time I think about it, I'm like, ugh. And I mean, that was years and years ago, but it just, yeah, it was awful. Number 3, what part of the day do you love the most? Okay, so when my kids were younger, and now, it's the same. I would say evening time, when things kind of start winding down, and just like, it was different back then, winding down, like baths and getting ready for bed, where today it's more like in the evening once homework is done, thank you Lord, and sometimes we like, play games together, or the boys go off and do their thing, and Brian and I watch TV and drink coffee, and like, so evenings are definitely my favorite part of the day. And then what type of time of the day do I like the least? Mornings. I've never been a morning person. I cannot stand getting up early. I hate it. I can't stand it. I can't convey enough how much I dislike getting up early in the morning. And the reason I don't like it especially is because getting ready for like school and stuff, from the time they were little to now still, obviously not. Gavin's graduated a few years ago, obviously, and Riley is a junior right now. I don't really have to say too much to him, but Asher has some ADD, and to keep him on task and make sure he has the things he needs, like he's had gym all year, but you have to tell the kid every single day, did you pack your gym clothes? Because he won't do it. Like, just the thought of all the things that they need to do and have and that kind of stuff. I hate mornings like that. It's like, just feels so chaotic. I just don't like it. Even if we plan things the night before, we've tried all sorts of things. I don't care. I don't like mornings. Okay. Number 5 is the worst thing someone said to you when you were pregnant. This is actually, it's not funny, but it is, because I know she would never like have wanted to like make me feel this way. But my grandma, who just passed away, my dad's mom, I remember I got pregnant with Riley, my middle son. I found out right after 9/11. And so when I was telling people that I was pregnant, my grandma said to me, why would you want to bring a baby into this world? Or another baby into this world? And I was like, that is not the, reaction you expect to hear when you're telling someone that you're having a baby. And, but I understand what she was talking about because of the events that had just happened. However, I was like, Grandma, I was obviously pregnant with him before that happened. Like, I just didn't know for sure until now. So it was just kind of funny though. Like, why would you want to bring another baby into this world? Like, that was not the reaction I was looking for. Number 6, baby name you didn't agree on. Okay, so for my second and third sons, I had on my baby name list the name Caston for a boy, Caston. I don't know why, there's something about it I just always liked. And my husband, it was such a no-go for him. He's like, oh, I'm going fishing and I'm casting my line or something, which he's not even a fisher. A fish? He's not even a fisherman. He doesn't fish. You know what I'm trying to say. And stuff. But I was like, what? Like, he just hated that name for whatever reason. So I never used Caston, obviously. Do you co-sleep, or did you co-sleep? I never did co-sleep. It makes me too nervous. I would have a bassinet when they were little next to my bed so that I could easily get to them to feed them, that kind of thing. But no, I didn't co-sleep. And I didn't want to create where they wanted to be in my bed all the time either, because sleep is so precious to me. And I was always a very light sleeper, and still am for the most part. And so I was like, there's no way I can get good sleep if I've got a kid in bed with me. So, no. Number 8, something you bought but never used. I would say a baby bathtub, because it's so big and bulky, and like, where do you store it? Do you keep it laying in your bathtub when you're not using it? Like, I never used it. My grandma actually bought me, it was just like a little wire frame, like, that went up and then on an angle, kind of like this, with like this netting that you put in the bathtub and laid the baby on. I used that for all 3 of my boys. It was fantastic. It hardly took up any room. It was this netting stuff that dried super quick, so it never got like musty or anything like that. It was fantastic, and it was soft for them to lay on. It wasn't in any way slippery. It was perfect. So yeah, I did not use the baby bathtub. 3 hospital bag must-haves. chapstick or some kind of lip balm, because my lips are always dry anyway, but like when you're going through all that and everything that's going, I feel like moisture was just sucked out of me. So definitely that. For my hospital bag must have was like a game, a card game, because I liked during labor to have something to like focus my attention on. So my husband and I would play like skip bow or something like that. So I loved that. And then a third thing, I would probably say, I don't really know. I can't even remember what I took in my bags to the hospital, to be honest. I took way more stuff than I needed, I can tell you that, but obviously just like their outfit to bring them home in is probably what I would say. Number 10, are you a routine mom or a go with the flow mom, and what does bedtime look like? I would say I was more of a go with the flow mom. I'm not a huge routine person for myself in life, so I almost feel like it puts too much pressure on myself if I like try to make a routine of things. I don't know why, but that's just the way my mind works. So I was definitely more of a go with the flow for the most part. But then of course there are certain things that are just routine by nature. But and so bedtime always was kind of like like I said, wind down, baths, read. We always read before bedtime. Pray, say our prayers before bedtime. And then the kids went to bed. So, and I was real big on sleeping in their own beds. Like, my youngest was a nightmare. It was like until I think he was 3 before he would stay all night long. Like he'd get up and I'd have to go put him back in bed because I was like, nope, we're not doing this. And, so yeah, that was a little bit of a nightmare, but he got the hang of it. He's 13. He doesn't sleep with us. Number 11, what type of labor did you have and what pain relief did you choose? I actually was induced with all 3 of my boys. So I knew I was going in. Now with my third, I was already starting contractions before I even went to the hospital. So that was kind of nice because I was a little ahead of the game. So I was given, I can't think of the name of it right now, to induce my labor. And I labored all through without an epidural. I was very adamant, and they'd be like, well, just sign the paper, because if you decide at that point, we can't, say that you're, whatever, in the right mind to be making this decision, whatever. I'm like, no, I don't want it. Like, I don't want to sign a paper because I don't want it. And like anything with a spine freaks me out. Like to see like a model of a spine or something. Oh my gosh. No, I can't even stand it. I just got goosebumps. So I'm like, no one's going anywhere near my spine with a needle. Like, it's just not happening. And so, I did not have epidurals with any of them. So I was induced, and, my labors took, like with my oldest son, I think they started at like 6 a.m. and I had him at 7:30 at night. So, but I just labored on my own, and I did have a shot of something at some point, like closer to the end with each of them. But it actually, with my youngest son, by the time they gave it to me, the nurse is like, we'll do it, but I don't think it's even going to be effective at this point. Plus I knew I wanted to be able to like feel to push, and had heard horror stories, and it actually worked out very well with my oldest because his heart rate ended up dropping, and they were like, if you do not get him out on this next push, we're going to have to use like the vacuum. And I had seen what happened to like my cousin's head when they had used a vacuum on him. I'm like, oh, you're not doing that to my baby. And we actually have family friends who they used forceps on their daughter, and she is mentally handicapped because of it. So I was like, oh, heck no. And so you better believe I pushed that kid out on my next contraction. And I think I pushed 3 times with my youngest son. Like, I was like, we're getting this done. So I was glad that I didn't have anything, like that I could feel everything, so that I could like really do what I needed to do, kind of thing. And then, have you ever been mom shamed? I would say just that one time with the ladies at the Bass Outlet. 13, the biggest challenges you faced since becoming a mom. The worry, you worry so much for your kids, and you just want so much for them to be happy and, you know, have the best. And I don't mean have the best by like giving them things, because we've never been like name brand people or anything like that. I just mean be the best that they can be and have the best and be loving, respectful, respectable people. I want them to grow up to be adults who, you know, contribute to society in a good, positive way that other people look at and, you know, see good things in. And our faith is a huge part of that. Like, there's nothing more important. And so that is something that we've instilled a lot. And just, you know, just praying that your kids grow up to seek God. And if they do, everything will fall into place, because if they follow his lead, he's got it all perfectly planned for us. And so it's just trying not to worry about them being sick or injured or anything like that. Like, and just letting them make their own mistakes. Like, that's a big challenge too, to step back and say, I know I could give them some major advice right now, but I also know that sometimes when you try to, they're going to do exactly the opposite of what you're telling them. So that's hard sometimes, to step back and just give them the opportunity to make mistakes and see them fall. And that's very difficult, but it helps you grow. So, but yeah, I would say that's the biggest challenge. You never knew, like, you could be so attached to someone until you have your kids. So, the best advice you've ever been given and biggest piece of advice you'd give to a new mom. I would say the best advice I've ever been given is to not worry so much about having a perfectly clean home. I grew up, my mom was like a clean freak. Like, everything had to be clean. It drove me nuts. I remember when she went back to work, and like in the summer when we were home from school, she would leave like a list for us of all these like tasks of things to clean. And like when she was at home, she's like cleaning everything, and it was like, it drove me crazy. And so truthfully, when I like got my own house, I was like, I don't have to clean that if I don't feel like it. And so I'm probably not as good of a housekeeper as I should be. But honestly, it totally turned me off to cleaning. Like, I was so annoyed by it. And I had one of our friends growing up, his parents were still very close to, and his mom and stuff comes every year on my husband's birthday and brings some cookies and a card and all this. And so she would come and visit quite often and bring stuff for the kids and stuff. And I remember I would be so embarrassed about like, oh gosh, like things are a mess, whatever. And she's like, don't worry about that. Enjoy your kids. There's plenty of time in life later to have a perfectly clean, immaculate home if that's what you want. But right now, that's not what's important. And I thought it was so true, because my mom would come over sometimes and be like, oh, you really need to clean your windows. I don't know how you can stand to have such a small garbage can. Like, that is her mindset, is like, clean, clean, clean. This should be this, da, 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 da. And I'm like, how do you even enjoy life when that's what you're focused on all the time? Like, drives me crazy. So this woman saying that to me, I was like, you know what? Like, she comes here to see me and my husband and our kids. She doesn't come to critique our house, you know? And I don't do that at other people's houses. So why should I worry so much about, you know, whatever, like things being perfect? I don't mean dirty. Dirty is different. But like cluttery, toys laying around, papers, whatever, like, big deal. Someday the kids won't be here to make those messes, and my house will be clean and quiet and boring. And so just enjoy the chaos while it's there. It doesn't matter. So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice too. Enjoy your kids. Don't worry so much about the little things. Don't worry about, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion about what you should do with your kids, what you shouldn't do. Oh, I wouldn't let my kids do that. Oh, my kids would never. Da, 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 da. Get a grip, because I remember before I had kids thinking, oh, I'll never let my kids do that or this or that. Your kids sometimes are going to do stuff anyway, like no matter what you do. So don't be so hard on yourself, and don't worry so much about the little things that don't matter, like having a perfectly clean house. And if you need to make macaroni and cheese and hot dogs sometimes for dinner, who cares? Like, you don't need to be this person who cooks these extravagant meals for your family. And just don't be so hard on yourself. Just enjoy your kids. Enjoy the time you have with them, because it goes so fast. I know it's only a matter of time, probably not very long before my oldest son is going to be moving out of the house. That's going to be a major adjustment for us. And that makes me sad. It's an end of a certain part of our lives, you know? And the time goes so fast. Whew. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy your kids. Love on them. Spend the time sitting, cuddling with them. Who cares if your house is a mess? As long as you've got your babies that you're, you know, sitting on the couch reading to, or watching shows together, playing games together. Keep doing that when they're teenagers. We have game nights. We sit and play games together. We always eat dinner together most of the time. You know, just focus on those things, not all the exterior stuff. It doesn't matter. It's letting your kids know that they are so important and so loved. That creates very well-adjusted adults, and that's what our society needs. So yeah, that would be my greatest piece of advice. I'm so wise. And then number 15 is, who's your mom crush and who do you tag? I don't really think I have a mom crush. Like, maybe I do. Actually, it would be my friend Jenny, because she is like, she's amazing. Her house is so cute. She decorates the heck out of it for every holiday season, whatever. Her house is, and it's not, she doesn't have this giant extravagant house or anything like that. She has the most cozy, it's my favorite kind of house. Cozy and personable. You walk in, you can see all the things that she loves. It's not a sterile, you know, perfectly, everything's white and da 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 da. And I'm not saying anything bad about that. That's just not my style. I like cozy. I like to walk in and be able to see things about a family when I walk in, because there's pictures everywhere and, you know, whatever. And so I love that about her. She cooks incredible meals. I mean, like, so good. And she's funny. She's goofy. Actually, her husband has said that her and I are like twins before, because like just kind of our quirky things. And her kids are awesome. They have their struggles with their kids too. Their kids are a little bit older than mine. Their youngest is a senior this year. So, and they had 3. And so, you know, but they've had their struggles too. And so I love hearing things from her where it's like, you know, I look and think, oh gosh, their family's so together. They've got their stuff too. Everybody does. So don't ever think that there's these perfect families, because there's not. But she would be, I guess, my mom crush. I think that's such a weird thing to say. I don't like that, but I mean, she's awesome. And yeah, so I really appreciate her and her wisdom and things that we talk about with our kids and stuff. And so I'm going to tag Jessica Cannon again, who I tagged in the dollar store makeup challenge, but only because Jessica has, like, she has a little bit older, like teenage, and she has littles. Or a little girl. And so she's got a good range there. And so I thought it would be fun to hear her answers to these questions. So Jessica, I'm sorry, I'm tagging you again. Don't ever feel pressured, by the way, if I tag you, like, you have to do something, because you don't. Like, it's just, I think it would be fun to hear. And then the other one is JoJo. Her channel is Worthy Life. She is from New Zealand. She has the most awesome accent. I love listening to her talk. And she's got 2 little boys now, and she's got a baby on the way. So I would love to hear her question, or her answers to these questions, because she's from New Zealand, but she lives in the US. And I would love to hear too if things are a little bit different, because I liked hearing Lucy talk about what it's like when she goes to have her babies. Like, here we have birthing suites that you go in, it's your own private room. The bed, like, transforms from a delivery bed back to a normal bed. You have, like, I mean, at least in the hospitals that I was in, like a big entertainment center with a TV, and it's very cozy. There's like a recliner or some sort of bed type, like bench or couch or something for like your spouse to sleep on and stay there with you, and your own private bathroom and all that stuff. And the baby stays in with you, and you can send them down to the nursery, but I never did. I don't know. Like, that would make me freak out. And, so it's like very cozy and family oriented, like it's your own personal space. And then she was talking about that you can, for private, like, you can privately pay for things like that, but with their free, like, healthcare system, you go into a place where there's, like, I think she said there's like 6 women in one, like, room separated by curtains, and you go somewhere else to deliver, but then you come back to this area where it's like you can hear everything. I'm like, it's hard enough to sleep in a hospital anyway, but I cannot even imagine that. And there's like a shared bathroom and that kind of stuff. So I like to hear like the different things about different places. I know JoJo had her babies here in America, I'm pretty sure. But she might know more about like in New Zealand what the like hospitals are like where you deliver babies. So it would be interesting to hear about that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're interested in doing it, do it and let me know, because I'd love to hear your answers. And I just thought it was kind of fun and kind of share some things about me being a mom, what that looks like for me. It looks different for everybody. Do not compare yourself to other moms, because you're not them and they're not you. And it doesn't mean one's doing it right and one's doing it wrong. We're all different. Our kids are all different. My 3 kids are all completely different. So you cannot compare. So please don't do that. I love the quote, comparison is the thief of joy, because it's so true. You can be feeling real good, but then you see a mom who seems like she's really got it together, and then you're like, oh, like, I should do this better for my family. I should. No, you were created to be who you are, not them. And you just need to be joyful in what you have and the blessings that you have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.